Hi everyone, we're back with another beautiful little picture for you to paint. It's of the beach down the road from me called Fylde. I live in the Fylde, and these are Fylde Dunes. I do hope you enjoy this. I loved it. We haven't managed to get to the beach for a few days. It's been blustery and windy, so this is how we did it. Right, let's start. Now, because I've just finished a picture using a palette that I filled up already with all of these colours, all the colours that I can and that I could possibly use, which is blue, red, yellow, green and black and white. I've got a little bit of purple there. I might use that. I did use it on the other canvas. Let's just see how it goes on this one. Okay, today we're doing Fylde Dunes. It's a landscape image, so there's the canvas ready to start, and I'm going to use the biggest brush I have to get in the background. The top of this picture is going to be a pale blue, so what I'm going to do is take a touch of the blue, add it in this section here to white, or add the white to the blue to get myself a lovely pale blue for my sky. That's probably about right for me. You can add some more white if you want, it's up to you. And about, I'd say about, not quite halfway down, just above halfway, I'm going to put my horizon. So it's just above halfway for on my canvas will be about there. I'm going to put my horizon just a little bit higher than that. Then the whole of the top of this canvas is going to be painted in the light blue. So let's finish that up quick. So once you have the top of the canvas all painted in light blue, like so, at this stage, that's fairly smooth. At this stage, you've got room to do clouds. Let's try and get that as smooth as I can across there. My clouds now, not even going to wash that brush off. I'm going to just put that brush into the white and let's do some clouds. I think I want some clouds in this area here. So what I'm going to do is make it a little bit lighter than that area there with the white. You see, crisscross motion, just to give myself a little bit of coverage with that white. And I find normally that clouds are lighter across the top, so I'm going to take some more white and do a few lighter patches. Scumble it across the picture like so. So that's a good cloud for me. Then you take a dry brush, and with the dry brush, go over the bottom of your cloud and just smooth the edge of the cloud into the sky, like that. Down, just smooth your cloud in. The top of the cloud then remains a nice light white colour, and the bottom is smoothed out into your sky. Right, at this point I'm going to add in some dark colour. So I've washed my brush off. Just take a touch of the darker blue, and you can do this if you want. If you don't want to do it, don't. It's not a problem. I'm going to add a touch of drama onto this side of the sky, just by adding in a little bit of darker blue, and that I'll blend back into the bottom of the cloud. So on this side of the sky, I have a bit of drama coming in. You can add a bit of blue into this area of the cloud as well. Now, clouds are not fluffy blobs. 1 blob, 2 blob, 3 blob, 4. You actually have more of a blend of cloud going across the sky. So there we go. There's a blend of cloud going in there, a little bit more drama on that side. That's enough of my sky for me. Wash that brush off. I want the rest of this to be beach. So a beach colour is a touch of yellow a touch of red and a lot of white. In my palette here, I'm going to put a lot of white into this light orange that I have got going here, and when I mix that into the light orange, I get my beachy colour. So touch of yellow, touch of red, lots of white. Let's have a look and see. That's fairly beachy. So I'm going to use that beachy colour that goes all the way across the bottom of the canvas. If you find it's a bit too yellow, for me it might be a little too yellow, I'm going to add some more red into that mix and put that in. That's not too bad. Mix it all up. I'm going to leave a space in between the sky and the beach, which will be for my sea. So leave a space, probably about 1 centimetre, maybe 2 centimetres, and that'll be your sea in the horizon. Where I live on the Fylde, the sea goes out so very, very far that most of the space is actually wet beach. So these are the dunes down the road from me. So the rest of that now is painted, but these are dunes. I'd like my dunes to go up. I'm going to take a little bit more of that red yellow mix. There we go, my beachy mix. And I want this dune now to be smoothly flowing from the center of the canvas up and around into the top right hand corner. So I'm going to put my brush around here and take it up in a smooth motion like so. It'll go over the sky and come back down into the beach here. I can see a line here. If you see a line, that's good. If you don't see a line, we'll put that back in with a bit of shadow. Let's make a little bit more paint here. I want to do the same on the side here. This dune is a bit bigger than this one on the right hand side, so it's going to come over a little bit further. Let's take it a little bit higher into the sky, bring it over a bit further and bring it down and round to this dune. So it's a slight S, very slight S. There we go, into that dune there. To give these dunes definition, I'm going to put a touch more red into there and maybe a bit of black, very, very small bit of black into my beachy colour. A little bit of black, and with that black I'm going to bring that down. This dune is slightly in the front of the other one, so there you can start seeing some dunes appearing there. Make this a smooth motion. Sand blows up into these dunes in smooth wind-blown sand. Look, I'm going to take all of that shadow slightly down to the bottom of the canvas here. Let's put a touch of blue into that colour. Just a small touch of blue into that colour, and let's see what it does on this side here. This, I'm going to put a bit of shadow into that section there, and that comes down to the left hand side. It's not really, this is a very subtle picture, so it's not really a lot of shadow. There's a little bit. Play around with your colours. I'm going to make a slightly darker beach colour, less white, a bit more orangey, and with that colour let's put a few more shadows in here. Look at that, slightly redder. Add a touch of blue to that, put a few shadows in there, and with that touch of blue on this side here, bring that down this side here too. Just one or two strokes of darker colour. It is sand, so what you'll find with the sand, you might have a touch more yellow coming in, like this. Add a bit of yellow, and the yellow can just add a bit of colour to your dunes, like that. Don't lose your colour of your dunes though. I like the colour of the dunes there, so don't lose that. It looks good with some of the shadow there. We're going to put some vegetation on there now, so let's leave that as it is. I'd like to start painting in the blue of the sea in the background. For that, I'm going to take the round brush, and where my beach, where I've left that mark in between the beach and the sky, I'm actually going to paint a little white over the top of that area there, because this is where the water starts coming in and it's making the beach a lot lighter. So that'll blend more up into the sea. Now why I added this purple onto my palette is because I'd like to make the sea not 100% blue. I will show you what 100% blue, my blue, looks like. Yours might be a bit darker. Right, I'm painting my blue, going all the way across in as straight a line as I possibly can make it, and I'm going to go around the dune like that. That's my sea out there. I wanted mine a little bit darker, which is why I was going to add a bit of purple, just to give myself a slightly more interesting colour sea in the background there. So that's my sea. Take it right up to the edge of the dune. Bring it slightly down onto the sand here. I'm going to leave that bit there because I'd like to make that, add some more white in. So I've washed the brush off, and I'm going to put some more white on that brush and add some more white back into the sea, just at the beach area there. There's some waves coming in there. I'm going to wait for that to dry before I add the proper waves. Right, while that's drying, let's take that same dry brush that we used in the beginning. I'm going to take that brush now. See, it's got a lot of hairs sticking out and around. I'm going to squeeze those hairs together to make some vegetation. Vegetation on the left hand side and the right hand side here, I'm going to make out of green, yellow and a touch of black. Vegetation isn't green as such, it's olive. So if you take a touch of green, add it to your yellow, you'll get a lime kind of colour, and then you add black. Gives you a beautiful olive. So I don't know if you can see that fairly clearly there. So I've added some blue, some green, some yellow and a touch of black, and it gives me a beautiful olive. With that, I'm going to squeeze that brush together so the bristles are shaped now. And with those bristles, I'd like to paint some vegetation on my dune coming down like that. So I'm touching the bristles to the canvas, and I'm going to bring my vegetation down the same line of the dune that I've painted across the top there. Let's put some vegetation on the top of the dune as well. So I'm going to touch that vegetation there across the top of the dune. It's getting a little bit lighter, so add some more colour to that. This is my vegetation coming down on the top of the dune. So it goes like that. Twist my brush as I do it, so I'm getting a slightly different feel for that vegetation. You can also, using the same bristle brush or using a finer brush, let's separate those bristles and make them open a little bit now, like that. I can just give myself a few strokes in that paint now to make it look like grass. Do the same thing again on the right hand side. So it's a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, a touch of black in there to give myself an olive colour. Put the bristles together. Make a bit of a shape with that dry brush. It's not a good quality dry brush, which is why I can do this. And then I'm going to put some vegetation across the top of this dune here. To add some vegetation there. So That's covering the top of that dune. Let's put another row of vegetation, say, that joins up with that one, so it comes down in a little bit more of an interesting growth shape here. Do some more like that. You can still see the sand underneath. Don't cover all of the sand. If you go down to the beach, you'll see that the vegetation doesn't really cover all of the sand. I'm going to use that same motion, make the bristles straightened out a little bit, and let's give ourselves a few flicks of growth, like that. And I'm not going in one direction, I'm going in a couple of directions. So you can see this is growing all over. You can use plain yellow or plain white on that vegetation now. Do the same thing, open up your bristles and put a few white or yellow touches, highlights across the top of your bushes, like that. Maybe a few yellow bits in the middle as well. Another thing that we have in this clump of vegetation, I'm going to put my brush in black, only black, so I've still got a lot of green. Open up my bristles and do a few shadows. Touch a few shadows into that vegetation, just at the bottom, not across the top. So let's put a few shadows here. Where I've done the yellow here, which is highlighting the top of that bush or growth, I'm going to put a little bit of black to put a bit of highlight, like that. So I have my vegetation coming in. That brush is going to retire now. So I'm going to put that brush in the water and take a smaller brush, this brush, the round brush. And with this round brush, let's put in a few stalks, I think, of grass stalks. For that, I'm going to need orange. So let's make an orange here. Take a little bit of the yellow and the red, mix it together, and add some black into that. That makes it a light brown. With that light brown, let's put a few stalks. So my stalks are going to be waving in the wind, so I'm just going to make thin stalks like so, using the very tip of the brush. Maybe a few thin stalks this side as well, just using the tip of the brush, like so. Thin stalks of grass. That grass, it's like pampas grass, so I'm going to add a few little feathery edges to the top of it, blowing in the wind, like that. A few little feathery edges onto this one as well, blowing in the wind. They're not quite touching the grass stalk, as you can see, slightly away from it. You don't need to touch it. There. Some grass. I'd like to make a few pieces of wood, maybe, lying in the sand here. So that is a touch of black added to red. If you add a touch of black to red, you get quite a dark brown. I'm using the same brush, but the very tip of the brush. I have a point on this brush. If you want to use a thinner brush, you go ahead and do it. I'm going to put some pieces of wood lying here, wind-blown pieces of wood lying in the grass here, or lying on the sand. Let's put a few here, like that. Just adds a little bit of interest to the foreground here, coming in the foreground. And that is just about done. What I want to do is put some highlights in the sea. I'm going to wash that brush off, load only white on the brush, and with the white, let's put some highlights in the sea. These are waves, so my waves, using the tip of the brush, I'm going to just wiggle a few waves into the sea. It doesn't have to go all the way across. waves don't always go all the way across. Let's put one or two of those wiggled waves here. So it can start thin. This is what a wave does. It starts thin on either side, gets thicker in the middle. So let's put in the few little waves on that side there. Maybe some interesting lights in the sea going behind those waves, like so. And that's basically it. We're done. All we have to do from here is sign it. I'm going to take a very small brush. I'm going to take a very small brush and let's sign this picture. There we go. There's my picture, Fylde Dunes. I hope you enjoyed that. What you can do from here is add some birds in the sky, add some more flotsam across the front here. It's your picture. Do what you like with it. But the interesting part about this picture is the use of the brush. So find yourself an old brush, like this very old brush of mine, which has got pieces and stalks all over the place. Don't throw those brushes away. Those are very good for adding texture. As I did, squeeze it together, add some texture like that, and hey presto, you have some vegetation. Please enjoy, do this at home, and let me know how it turns out, and we'll see you next time.